Rex virus, reign of Azazel, one of three. The coronavirus, with its COVID-19 pandemic, has put the chronic crisis of civilization into acute breakdown in the lockdown mode. While the immediate worry is survival, with washing hands, face masks covering nose and mouth, goggles, or plastic shielding for the eyes perhaps, maintaining social distances and the like, living in denial won't bring back our old normal, which went the way of the wind. The perennial underlying question isn't going away till we properly address it and come up with a satisfactory response. Was it original sin or original miss? Our real sin, if any, is putting the blame of our shortcomings of creation on our Creator. It's not like a new car that has a glitch. Just take it to the shop and get it fixed by changing the broken part and you're set to go. Nothing else to it. But with living, it's quite a different thing altogether due to homeostasis. The problem is that today's common sense is corrupted. This disoriented, coeval common sense is what we use today on an ongoing basis to address, know, understand, and solve our concerns. If it's compromised, it will affect pretty much everything we attempt to accomplish. Like wearing pink glasses will redshift everything we perceive. At best, it will provide us with half-fixed and half-baked things, still more into smaller shards, to be scattered down the road only to return to haunt us once they've germinated, grown, and flourished into gardens of our grandchildren. But wait, if this is inborn, then how come we don't get it? How come we keep getting it wrong time and again? Just like there's individual insight, there's also collective oversight. It's like a veil over our eyes or the pink glasses effect. Once we've been made aware of it, we'll be fine from there onwards. The trick is rubbing off the coeval of iterative duality of pluralism, figuratively speaking of the Medusa syndrome, by way of the primeval common sense of paradise. But I don't want to leave you on a bad note. The good news is that it's been finally resolved by your charro anusim. Half of the solution is creating awareness of the existence of our initial civil condition. So far, I've been in a minority of one. Part of the derivative problems is that all the action in community groups can't get past their own sphere of influence of account of this Tower of Babel outcome for lack of a unifying principle. The groups out there that I'm aware of are occupied with criminal reform, social justice, homelessness, education, racial justice, and so on. Fortunately, all roads lead to Rome, and everywhere I go, I can say the same thing and have equal relevance to the question at the heart of the issue. What is at the root of all good and evil in the world? It requires using the code-breaking clue to understand how to move forward. The secret of success, of my success, are my failures. The secret of original sin is failing the origin mission. Towards this end, let's say a few words about our buddy Azazel. Azazel is just our base idolatrous nature of dualism and whatnot, precisely the reason for revelation to dispel such misunderstandings proper to vipers and such. Allow me to say a few words about this Azazel character as in the parasha Aharei Mot, after death, specifically Leviticus 16:8, 5 to 8. Throughout time, this Azazel has been differently characterized. Traditionally, the interpretation of Azazel has been as a scapegoat. It is composite of as, goat, strong, and Azel, dare venture out of. This can be interpreted as gathering the strength and courage to venture out, as the children of Israel from Egypt, and in general, humanity from its comfort zone, however miserable existence it might be, but which out of habit has made roots and we're attached to bondage. This is something we have to do on our own. That's the that's the free will part of our nature. We need to want to be truly free. Nothing short of this will do the trick. The strength to refer to the first part of the word as goat strong is different from the higher one used in the Shema, listen, prayer in Deuteronomy 6:5. Briefly, it says to love GD with all your strength, but uses the word meodeja, your might or strength. Here it's human strong. I personally prefer out of strength over the scapegoat version, as it can be more squarely contrasted with strength P, as in the Ve'ahavta section of the Shema, Deuteronomy 6:5. In my understanding of things, this goat strength as is the animal instinct as distinct from the human strength or might, as in my strength, corresponding to the Peshat plane P, lower primeval common sense factor within the paradise approach that we're subscribing. In this sense, Azazel, out of might, out of primitivism, the lower end of humanity bordering with animal. The goat chosen by Lot for Adonai was as an offering for the sins committed by the children of Israel while in the desert, whereas as expiation for humanity, the other goat was sent off to the wilderness to Azazel. The underlying idea is to birth the non-messianic age proper and exit Azazel times of chaos. Times of Azazel means kicking the buck, blaming others, evading responsibility, denying ownership, living in denial, rejecting accountability, forked tongue dualism, and so on. It's all those things that we don't want to come out in the picture. Another thought worth mentioning, since we're on the topic of characterizing the times of Azazel. There are two possibilities regarding the diacritical vowels marks in Azazel, escape primitivism, as with the sound underneath and underneath. As far as I can tell, the aleph, A, plays a dividing or connecting role, depending on where the vowel is placed. My guess is that if adequately placed, it moves from dualism to bridging with paradise. The usual pointing, leaving the aleph, rim of a coin, as a glass half empty. It shouldn't surprise how deeply entrenched dualism is in our collective psyche. In said text, it says one goat to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, GD, and the other to Azazel. My understanding that it was chosen by Lot is meant to say they were made out of both, in the specific as a people and in general as humanity. Paradise we understand as triad parts PRD, one whole, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, S. That is, as refers to this case in question, we would have Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, S, As, D, E, R, Zel, P. The triad parts, triada, are not yet in place, but more like triad three parts, trias, unconnected, separated by the aleph, without vowels as yet. The aleph A seems to play this separating part in this Mikut presentation. Hermeneutically, Azazel has had many different interpretations throughout the ages, meaning different things at different places to different people. In our case, it comes to represent dualism of two clear extremes with no contact between them, as if a coin with opposite sides not touching and not connected as well, which would be odd not to have a rim. To us, it just means dualism, as in Trias Politica of Montesquieu, of two opposite with third party falling through the cracks into the twilight zone. The law of nature and divine with cultural laws as at present. One god will go to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh GD in the sin offering, whereas the other goat will go to Azazel out in the wilderness. As goat comes from the animal goat and by extension strength and wildness of undomesticated human nature as non-culture civilization. It didn't suffice to identify one and by extension the other, since there were only two, because a third could have been slipped in. So the one for Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh had a ribbon tied to its neck, and the one for Azazel a red ribbon tied to its horns. The one for Azazel will be the trias, as in dualism, whereas the one for Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh would be the triada of 3 and 1 of 4 as paradise. The Messianic age is also known as millennialism, or thousand-year duration, of reign after present-day chaos and the age of perfection of the reign of the Messiah, Mashiach. Recall that the letter Aleph is number 1, but actually, as spelled Aleph, means 1000. This could be the same before final judgment. This too, hermeneutically through the ages, has had many interpretations, depending on the prevalent project of reason. Ours is simply the beginning of non-messianism, gaining awareness of paradise Genesis 1:1a. As I said, each extreme has its own part, and in between is mute, precipice between the edges, the ends of the bridge. Demons and angels staying clear of mythology. Ours is more rational thought, originating in primeval reading of common sense, triad parts PRD 1 whole S. Non-messianic age means different things dependent of place and time and people. Messiah, savior to Christians, and Mashiach, anointed to Jews, or not pointed as Messiah, savior, and Mashiach, anointed respectively. Overall, the expiation goat for Azazel, as well as the expiation goat for Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh-GD, being holes as such are impenetrable beyond language. The only available approach is that of paradise, or breaking the one whole S into a triad of parts PRD. The main point is to somehow pray that our lower undomesticated nature as scapegoat at least enters the sphere of humaneness. This can be accomplished solely by participating in the triad of things proper to humanity. The lower echelon is simply evolution in our physical body in tandem with the other factors. The higher one is to take awareness that we have the divine in us as enthusiasm by our very existence as live beings. Once both sides of the divide have been established, the next thing is to extend the bridge, joining them of culture by developing mindfulness. This topic connects with the previous one of political science of the need to transition from third millennium U.S. Constitution to usher non-messianic age and oust Times of Azazel first and second millennium. Non-theistics are fair game, like science and philosophy. Critical analysis is more than welcome. It's encouraged as means to its development looking forward. We are past dark times of inquisition, now is gray ones of self-censoring of the mind. The coronavirus pandemic made all second millennium go up in smoke. Old normal is gone with the wind and isn't coming back anytime soon. The root cause of social injustice is the obsolete Constitution of 1789, vestige of what went the way of 18th century Enlightenment ideas. Biological constitution, racism, takes generations to overcome. Political constitution, democracy can be changed in one generation. The remedy to all social malady is simply to replace the obsolete constitution. The cause of social injustice is an obsolete constitution. Root of all chaos is an outdated master program. At the root of all wrongness is chaos. The root cause of social injustice is an obsolete constitution, like a virus, microbial, there but not visible, yet determines, rules one's behavior. Well, that's all, people. You're surely Rick, you Chara Nusim, and GD Bless. Austin, Texas, capital of the world.